Hello. In this episode I would like to present a Soviet phone built in 1989 in USSR. Not in Russia actually. It was built in Latvia. But that was still part of the USSR, and you already see, unfortunately with the filming that doesn't really work well, but you see it's already displaying the date, the time and the date, yes, so it's 11/22. On the 14th it doesn't display the month of August, and the 6 stands for today is Saturday. The logic is, everyone remembers that now we have August, so we don't need to display the month, but the day of the month, 14th of August, and 6 stands for Saturday. Yes, in Europe a week starts with Monday, so the 6th day of the week is Saturday. Okay, so what's funny of that phone? You would say, USSR phone in 1989, extremely cheap, doesn't do anything, but this phone is quite of interesting. It includes a microcontroller, which is a Soviet clone of the Z80. And I'm gonna call the phone, and then you're gonna see what's gonna happen. That's the fun part of that phone, built in 1989 in USSR. Okay, so let's call the phone. And when it gets called, what you see, it displaying changes. So what's happening here? We have caller ID. I'm calling from phone number 69. It needs to display each time all the figures. So it's going to display lots of zeros in front. And then 69. It can be configured for 5 digits, 6 digits, or 7 digits number. That's all the number lengths that existed in USSR. And if it gets a number which is shorter than that, it fills it with zeros. And the 1 stands for a call from a regular phone. Okay, and you also hear it speaking in Russian. It said, yes, 0000 0000, and then it said 69. It even doesn't just say 69, but it says 69. Okay, and then we can answer the phone and of course get connected, and that's it. Okay, good. And then it goes back to normal. Okay, so let's call again, perhaps from a different phone, so that we hear a different number. And then I'm going to explain how that protocol works. It allows the phone to actually display the number. Okay, good. So now we have 21. Means 21. Okay, so how does this whole thing work? Of course, you can also dial a number with that phone, but that's the not so fun part of it. The fun part is being called on that phone. So how does this work? There was no real Soviet caller ID protocol. That's not something that existed. So how can the phone display the number being called? USSR had a kind of ANI system, automatic number identification system, for the purpose of long distance calls. How does this work? When the distance office of a long distance call saw supervision, the far office sent a 500 Hz tone down the line, and the originating office then sent ANI, the original calling number, with MF. So it's the usual MF, the same MF that was used in the United States, with the small difference that MF doesn't have any pauses, so the tones are run together. You would say if you run together tones, you cannot make the difference between 2. So they're using one of the reserved codes for the repeated digit. So a number like 2233 would be 2 repeated digit, 3 repeated digit, and so on. And if it's 2222, it's 2 repeated digit, 2 repeated digit. So that protocol can actually figure out the number. So that was ANY. It's really MF. We can't hear the MF, but it's really MF. So the whole thing was supposed to be used by long distance equipment and long distance equipment only inside central offices. But then people found out that the original offices weren't smart enough to make the difference between a 500 hertz tone that comes in the first second of supervision or something for a long distance call and a local call. So most central offices in USSR, or all of them, when being presented a 500 hertz tone after supervision, sent ANY, even on local calls. So what that phone does when it gets called, it answers the line. Local calls weren't metered in USSR, so like in the United States, they were just a global flat rate. So it doesn't matter whether the phone answered or not, right? So the phone answers the line, sends 500 hertz, and then listens to the ANY. And then it presents that number, also pronounces the number, and then, because it actually didn't get answered, plays a fake ringtone to the caller. So it always plays the same 425 hertz ringtone, Russian type or USSR type ringtone, to the caller. But the call was actually already connected when the phone rings and displays the number. But that didn't matter too much. And the whole logic is done with no real analog digital converter and with a Soviet clone of a Z80 inside that phone. So it uses a delta sigma analog digital converter. Delta sigma being discretely built with a comparator and a capacitor and all these things, right? And then it does the analysis of the MF tones coming in to display the number. So how does it work? I modify my asterisk to have that logic. If it hears the 500 hertz tone in the first second of supervision, after supervision, it sends that Soviet style ANY protocol in MF, in that Soviet type MF, and the phone is then able to figure that out again and display that number. And you wouldn't believe, but that type of protocol is still supported in phones which you can buy now in Russia. I just returned from Russia. The central offices in big towns, big cities don't really support it anymore. So they now have FSK, DTMF, FSK caller ID like we have in the western part, because the line doesn't need to be answered to display the number for call ID, while with Soviet style call ID the line does need to be answered to do the displaying. You can actually reprogram the phone that it doesn't display that it doesn't answer the line until you really take off the receiver off hook, and then it does the whole display the number thing only once you tick off the receiver. It's also possible to save the one who's calling you long distance some money, because in the current setting, if this phone is being called long distance, the long distance caller will pay for the ringtones, which is kind of sad, right? Okay, good. Thank you. Bye.